Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video we're going to give some feedback on Mirzabek's speaking test. Let's jump straight in. Good afternoon, my name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
My full name is Mirzabek and you can just call me Music.
Okay, thank you. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Do you work or do you study?
Nowadays, I'm a student, I'm a freshman in high school, and
Cool, I'm a freshman in a high school. Nice bit of language, great.
also I work part-time, and
I work part-time, very nice. Topic specific. Might seem simple, but it's really, really, effective to the point. I work part-time.
I work as a teacher too.
Okay, bit staccato too. I work as a teacher too, just a little bit, but okay. And what do you like most about working as a teacher?
I think it is really interesting job to do because of some reasons, and that
Okay, because of some reasons, it's kind of empty. Just go straight into the reasons.
you got excited when you are preparing
You got excited in the past, or you get excited in general?
your student to the certain exams, right?
Exams. I know it's a common mistake, but yeah, these things are exams, not exams, but exams. It almost sounds like an exams, exams. But importantly, stress on the second syllable, not the first, exams.
So you just wait like scores that your students will get in the future, right? So it is so exciting for me. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. It's so exciting for me. Yeah, really nice rhythm there. It's so exciting for me. Yeah, cool. Good sentence stress. And is there anything you find difficult about working as a teacher?
I think so. There is a lot.
I think so. Nice use of intonation. It's a little bit hesitant, but that's normal, right? It's absolutely normal to be a little bit hesitant at the beginning of an answer.
A lot of things that are difficult for teachers all the time. First of all, you
Good sequencing, first of all, very logical.
must keep a balance between your life and work, and that
Called keep a balance between two things. Really nice natural language.
I work too long in a normal day. So because I have a lot
I work too long. Good use of this quantifier, too long.
of students, sometimes I don't have a lot of time to socialize with other people, to spend my quality time with my family members.
To spend my qual time. I think he's saying quality time. Maybe he's just in a rush and it doesn't get the whole word out. But to spend quality time, not qual time. At least I think he's trying to say quality. But socialize with, also really nice collocation.
So it would be difficult for me. Yeah.
It would be difficult for me. I don't know why would be. If you're working as a teacher, you don't need this like hypothetical would be, right? I don't work as a doctor, but I think it would be difficult for me. So I don't know, since he works as a teacher, it's a bit strange to use would here. But okay, it's just a tiny little inaccuracy. And would you like to continue being a teacher in the future?
Yeah, I think so. First of all, it's so lucrative job.
We've had this a few times, I think so, right? Just be careful. A bit of repetition, absolutely fine, but we don't want to answer all of our questions, I think so. He also says it's so lucrative job, I think, being a teacher in the future.
Yeah, I think so. First of all, it's so lucrative job.
And again, repeats that first of all. Now, again, it's absolutely fine, but I'm just keeping my eye on it, right? We've had first of all now a few times, and it's like, well, we don't want to overuse it. It might be a sign that it's a lack of flexibility if you have to keep using the same linguistic patterns. Using it twice, absolutely not a problem at all. It's just something I would, it's a little flag for me to say, just listen out for it, see how many times he uses first of all. If you feel he overuses it, then maybe, consider that in your marking. But it's so lucrative job. This is a minor mistake. Again, this job is so lucrative, fine, or this is such a lucrative job. So we have rules about so and such, so plus adjective or adverb, right? It's so lucrative, or it is such a plus adjective plus countable noun. It is such a lucrative job. This is usually taught at B2 upper intermediate, but it's a mistake, but it's not a mistake that stops me from understanding. Lucrative is a great word
for me, actually, and maybe in the future to boost my financial situation, I will do this. Yeah.
All right. I don't know, to boost seems like temporarily, right? The candidate is trying to activate that good language to boost. We all know that boost is everywhere now. Every IELTS video, boost your score, boost your financial income. But I don't know, it seems to be a temporary thing to boost your earnings or your income. But okay, let's talk about your family now. Do you come from a big family?
Not.
Candidate wants to say yes, and then he says not. Of course, he should say no, not. And that just worries me just a little bit, right? It's okay. I could make that mistake too, but it's quite a basic thing, the difference between no and not. But just listen to this. The candidate tries to say yes and then changes his mind for no. Now, do you come from a big family?
Not. My
Not.
family is small. My family includes my mother, my
Includes is okay. Consists of is maybe better here.
father, my sister, and me. And yeah.
And who do you get on with best in your family? I like that short answer. It's really, really nice. We don't want too many long answers in part one, especially when we move to different topics, right? Generally, there'll be like 2 or 3 different topics in part one. And the first question is always like a basic one, like, do you work or do you study? Or are you from a big family? And for those first answers, just short answers are absolutely fine. And then we can build. So yeah, really, really good answer.
Probably my dad. I'm that my dad person who always.
My dad person who, bit of a grammar slip, right? Let's listen.
Probably my dad. I'm that my dad person who.
I'm that my dad person who. So a little bit of confusion. It's quite basic grammar. My dad is a person who
always supports me, always cares about me.
Cool, but it hits that S, right? Always supports, always cares about me. You might think that's simple grammar, but so many candidates miss that S in present simple. This candidate is quite reliable with it. Good stuff.
And that, according to our traditions, it's really hard to.
Really nice according to our traditions, really nice discourse marker, shows good collocation according to our traditions, nice.
Say certain figures to the mom. So I always try to say this kind of things to
I notice sometimes people have a problem with this sound, especially like always say, because the always ends in a z sound and say begins with a s sound. Very often, people from Slavic speakers and also people from Central Asia have this problem that the second s sounds like a th. Always they, right? We see it with the word sympathize too, with the word sympathize, because there's people get sympathize or they mix it up because the s and the z, they're all kind of, our mouths are doing similar things. But yeah, I'll just play that bit back. Always say, and you can hear a couple of times his s comes out as a th a little bit. Just listen to it again here.
This kind of thanks to my father. So yeah, I think so.
And how often do you see members? Sorry, let's go back a little.
This kind of thanks to my father. According to our traditions, it's really hard to say certain figures.
To say certain secrets
to the mom. So I always try to say this kind of things to
so a bit of a problem with that phonological sound. Now, my advice to the candidate, I want to mention this a little bit later, is slow down. If you speak too quickly, your phonological range might suffer. And so if you're trying to speak really quickly, it can be really difficult to get all of the because our mouth doesn't have enough time to move. So you can slow down. You are speaking a little bit too quickly here. I absolutely love your energy. I think it's great, and I want you to keep that energy up, but perhaps slow down, because it always say, always think, when you're trying to get that stuff out. If you're speaking too quickly, it will negatively affect your pronunciation.
To my father, so yeah, I think so.
And how often do you see members of your extended family, like your aunts, your uncles, or your cousins or grandparents? And you can kind of see, right? Watch the candidate as I'm asking the question. The candidate is like a puppy dog, like really waiting for you to open that door so it can kind of run free. I just wish the candidate would relax a little bit, listen to the question, pause a little bit, maybe take a breath, and then deliver, a deliberate, intentional answer. Watch the candidate. I'm going to play this again. Watch the candidate. He really wants to get the answer before the question is out. Watch him. Your aunts, your uncles, or your cousins or grandparents. You can see he's prepared. He's trying to get it out. So yeah, just calm down a little bit. You don't have to, it's not a race here. It's not who can answer the questions the fastest or anything like this.
On every single holiday, actually, my family members usually are used to throwing a party.
They are used to throwing a party. So this isn't the correct use of be used to. So it's cool that the candidate is attempting complex grammar here, be used to doing something. My family members are used to throwing a party. No, that doesn't mean they usually throw parties, right? A lot of people have that, they get mixed up. They think, oh, we use used to in the past, like I used to do that often, and we use I am used to doing that in the present. No, be used to doing something is about like adapting or changing your behavior or something becoming new or comfortable for you. It's a very, very complicated little bit of grammar, this construction be or get used to doing something. I'm not going to go into all of the rules here, but the candidate does get it slightly wrong.
Little party for our relatives when they get together.
And notice he's just in such a hurry. Just calm down a little bit. You can kind of see almost that he's having difficulty breathing because he's really trying to get that language out there. Watch again.
Throwing a little party for our relatives when they get together. I always am able to meet them. So yeah, on holidays, on births, on some special.
I mean, it's not like super, super, super fast, I would say, but it is for me noticeably fast, and that does affect his fluency a little bit, his pronunciation and chunking a little bit, because eventually you have to wait to breathe. So yeah, just try to calm down a little bit. I know you're very excited to show off your fantastic English language skills, but just calm down a little bit.
Occasions and birthdays, yeah.
Let's talk about sport now. Do you have a favorite sport?
Yes, I have my.
And again, notice how fast he is to answer the question. Of course, it's nice to have this low latency. We don't want to be waiting too long, but it's okay to take a moment and think.
Favorite sport, and it is football. I'm a big fan of Cristiano Ronaldo. I think you are. I hope you are not Messi fans.
I am a Messi fan. I think Cristiano Ronaldo has done amazing things due to his hard work, but Messi achieves what he's achieved through his just genius. And there is a difference between those two things. Sure, I admire Cristiano Ronaldo. He's worked very hard to get where he is. He's super competitive. But Messi is touched by something magical, and Cristiano isn't. Sorry. Yeah, but I do think in part one, in part three, you can engage with the examiner a little bit. Part one is supposed to be an interview. And so, when it's an interview, there's someone who asks the questions and someone who answers the questions. And so there shouldn't be too much back channeling. You don't want to say like, oh, you should visit my town, or you should, or this, I think you might be a Messi, oh, you're not a Messi fan, are you? Or anything like that. I know it's just a little bit of fun. And will it affect your score negatively? No, for 99% of examiners, they will not care about it, but there might be 1% of examiners who think, oh, it is inappropriate that in the interview section the candidate tries to engage me in the conversation. I don't think it's a problem, but we always want to play things as safely as possible, right? To increase the chances, to avoid taking any risks. Don't worry about any kind of back and forth with the examiner in part one. Just question, answer.
So, and I used to watch football when I was a child.
Cool, nice use of used to here. I used to watch football when I was a child. Great.
And I'm crazy about this. So yeah.
Cool, I'm crazy about this. It feels a little bit forced, but it is perfectly natural here, right? I'm crazy about this. Cool, nice.
Yeah.
And nice idiomatic expression. How often do you watch sport on TV?
As often as I can, actually. Whenever
I love this, as often as I can. The as construction's really nice.
or I have free time to spare, actually, I always try
time to spare. Again, very precise language. Really, really good stuff.
to watch some sport programs on TV.
So I think the candidate is focused on like activating that language, right? I'm crazy about as often as I can when I have time to spare. And it's like and all of that stuff is really good, but when it comes to the bit about actually answering the question, the simpler language kind of breaks down a little bit. Watch when he just says, like, I want to watch sports programs on TV.
Sport programs on TV sport.
Sorry.
As often as I can, actually, whenever I have free time to spare, actually, I always try to watch some sport programs on TV.
That should be the easy part, right? I want to watch some sport programs on TV, but I think because the candidate has, used some of his brain resources on activating that kind of crazy about or as often as I can and things like this, maybe that then means his brain doesn't have like enough energy left to produce the simple stuff. I don't know. I just find that that's often the case with candidates that often try to like over activate language. We don't need to do that in IELTS. It's just should be, normal communication from human to human. We don't always need to heighten and add extra bells and whistles and decorations. You don't need it. Candidate's language is already very, very strong. He doesn't need to work on adding more stuff to it.
Yeah, it is so enjoyable because it gives adrenaline. It gives kind of,
again, just word stress is wrong here. Adrenaline, not adrenaline, but adrenaline.
Extraordinary emotions for you. Yeah.
Again, extraordinary emotions. Language feels a little bit heightened, perhaps a little bit poetic. Well, not poetic, but maybe a little bit, like it's a bit too much. And when you were younger, did you have to play any sports as part of your school program?
Yes, I think so.
Again, I think so. I mean, is I think so really the most suitable here? So, right? You don't need to use I think so here because it's not like an opinion, like is it going to rain tomorrow or I don't know, do you think it's a good idea to do something? Yeah, I think so. What, did you have to do sports? I think so. You don't need to think so because you have a memory of it. So
in our school curriculums, there was a
cool curriculum, nice
classes for
Candid says I think there was classes. It should be there were classes, but that's a type of mistake a native speaker, L1 user can make. My dad makes that mistake all the time, so I don't worry about it.
Playing football at that time, and nowadays I can play football as good as well as other players.
Cool, finds that adverb, right? Comparative adverb here as well as.
And it is because of my maybe earlier school classes, football classes. So
the flow of speech just breaks down a little bit here, right? You can notice he's not quite as fluent. Just listen again.
Players, and it is because of my maybe earlier school classes.
So just a little bit mechanical here. It's not always mechanical, just a little bit here.
Football classes. So yeah, we used to play football together. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, we often see this with candidates who are rushing to get their answers out. They often rush to get their answers out, and then they come to the end, and then they don't know how to end it, and they say, so, yeah. And that's not always, it's okay to use that a couple of times, perhaps, but we don't want all of our answers to end. We don't want all of it to be like, we have this term, a stream of consciousness, where you're just saying anything that comes into your mind, and then ending it with, so, yeah. We want to have a bit of a natural ending to it. So, yeah. And are there any new sports you'd like to try in the future?
I think in the future, maybe I am crazy about skateboarding.
So we've had this crazy about, and now candidate is repeating it. So it's a little bit like, okay, maybe you lack flexibility, maybe. It's about the future. He says, I'm crazy about skateboarding, which makes me think, well, he's talking about it now.
I always try to find short videos on social media to
and again, because the candidate is so busy trying to activate language, at no point does he say that he would like to learn how to skateboard in the future, right? And that's the key bit of information that we want. He says that he's crazy about skateboarding. He goes on now to say that he always tries to watch clips of it on social media, but at no point does he answer the question here, which is, yeah, I'd like to try skateboarding in the future. I'd like to learn how to skateboard in the future.
Watching people skateboarding, right? So skating, yeah.
Skateboarding. Skating is different. All right. Thanks. Okay, so thoughts on part one. I love the candidate's energy. I think it's really, really great to have such an enthusiastic candidate. It makes my job as an examiner a lot more enjoyable. Do you get extra points for that? No, not really, but you can, because with pronunciation, it certainly helps, right? We want candidates to have an emotive range. And so, if you can express your emotions through your pronunciation, this will help you a lot with your pronunciation. I've made that point a lot before, that sometimes if you have a problem with emotional range and pronunciation, try like smiling or frowning or doing stuff like that and see how it changes your pronunciation. I think this enthusiasm does positively affect the candidate's pronunciation. At times, because the candidate is rushing to get answers out quite so quickly, it sometimes means the flow of speech isn't quite as natural as it could be. But, for what he lacks in that flow of speech, his fluency and ability and willingness to speak at length is clear for everybody to see. So I think, fluency is maybe even at a band 8 level. Flow of speech and coherence sometimes breaks up and is about a band 6 level. And so at the moment, it's kind of in that 7 range, but we want to make sure that we're answering questions directly because we really don't want to lose that. But we'll get more to that later. Really nice range of grammatical constructions. Sure, there are a few mistakes here and there, small, minor mistakes. Those mistakes don't impede understanding at all, but there is a really nice variety of grammar. Vocab also, it's a little bit, perhaps a little bit forced. Lucrative was nice. Crazy about was nice the first time, but the second time a little bit like this. Really nice little collocations too, like according to our tradition and things like this. So yeah, very strong in terms of vocab. So this is a really, really strong start. Really strong start, but we know part 1 is kind of the easy part, and we'll see how the candidate does in part 2. I'm really hoping the candidate slows down a little bit and just relaxes. Hopefully this 1 minute of preparation time maybe will slow him down. But the task for the candidate is to describe a happy childhood memory. A happy childhood memory. Let's see how the candidate does.
I can see this.
Sorry. End of your preparation time. To remind you, you will have between 1 and 2 minutes to give your talk, and I will let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
So it was art class that I really liked when I was a child.
Liked? Again, liked. Not liked, but liked. It was art class that I really, really liked. Okay, it's an attempt at a cleft sentence here. I don't think it's fully appropriate, but it is an ambitious attempt at a piece of high-level grammar.
To go actually, and at that time I used to go there a lot with my friends because
Okay, but a happy childhood memory, right? We want something specific, something that happens, over maybe a few minutes or something like this. This seems to be like something, a past period in his life, a stage in his life.
I was so
A time when he went to art school. I don't know if that's quite a memory, but okay, I'm not going to be too fussy about this.
into these art classes, especially drawing paintings.
And this art classes should be these art classes, and drawing paintings, not drawing. Does he say drawing?
And because I
Let's just go back. Sorry.
because I really liked it when I was a child to go actually, and at that time I used to go there a lot with my friends because I was so into these art classes, especially drawing paintings.
Drawing. So that is that does put strain on the listener then.
And also acting on the stage. Actually, it was so important for me because at that time.
Okay, but are we describing a memory here? I don't know if this really qualifies as a memory. Not sure.
I think I had kind of, pressure to speak fluently in front of the public. I'm that.
So you speak in public or you speak in front of an audience, but speak in front of the public, speak in front of public, or yeah, it's not quite right, but it's an attempt.
My public speaking skills were not good enough to do this at that time, and
Okay, so candidate has to talk about a memory. Now the candidate says a time when he used to go to art classes with his friend because he really liked drawing and he learned how to speak on the stage because his public speaking skills were not so developed. It's just a little bit difficult to follow.
at that time I read an article about this.
And now he's talking about reading an article. I mean, there are just too many moving parts here. Just keep it simple. I remember one time when I was in this art school, I had to speak on stage and I was extremely nervous, right? Focus in on that one time, that one moment, that one memory. I think that your scope is just too broad here.
That whenever people have some kind of anxiety while they're talking in front of the public,
Cool. Anxiety and great pronunciation there.
they should try to draw certain things.
Again, draw instead of draw.
To like release their stress, to boost their confidence.
Okay, but release their stress, boost their confidence. This is, I can see this is templatey type of language. The candidate now, I don't think is even thinking about the cue card. The candidate is just thinking of collocations to release your stress. Relieve stress is probably better, but to release your stress, to boost your confidence. He's just trying to activate language. And while, you know, it does show a level of collocation, right, to boost your confidence, but we have to use it in the right context. And I just don't see how this language quite fits in with the theme.
And overcome their fear.
And overcome their fear. Again, it's just stacking collocation after collocation
all the time. And this class was so helpful for me. And it was
the class or the article, because you were speaking about the article and now we're back to the class. So again, I'm not, you know, in your mind now you're probably saying, hey Glyn, stupid, I mean this and this. Sure, you know what you mean in your brain, but just because you know what you mean in your brain doesn't mean that a listener can follow clearly what you're saying.
I think the best memory that I had in my life, actually. So
okay, but what is the memory? Because just like going to the school often, is that the memory? Is it like a wide memory? I'm not sure.
Yeah, and at that time it was so
at this point I feel like the candidate is probably, you know, off script now, right? So typically especially candidates who speak quickly and have fast ideas, they tend to take their notes and then, because they're in a hurry to get information out, after about 50 seconds or 60 seconds they realize that, oh, actually I don't have anything else in my notes now, and then they start freestyling. And when you start freestyling, that's when you lose coherence. So it is really, really important for this candidate to learn, first of all, to understand how fast or how slow 2 minutes, the period of 2 minutes is. Also to understand that when you're practicing at home by yourself in front of the mirror, you probably tend to speak more slowly, whereas in the exam, you'll probably speak more quickly. So understanding how you speak under pressure is an important thing. But really, you have to get some strategy for taking notes that will help you cover the whole 2 minutes, right? And if you do this numerous times, if you have a good teacher or trainer or tutor or coach or whatever it is you have, or if you become an expert yourself, developing that strategy to help you to speak for the whole 2 minutes and to, most importantly, to stick on topic will help you a lot, because your language level is there. It's just you are so excited and losing coherence a little bit. It's almost like you're trying to do too much.
Hard to me to speak fluently because I felt like I had butterflies in my stomach while I was
okay, I had butterflies in my stomach. It's a nice idiom, but yeah, it kind of fits. Yeah, cool.
Speaking on the stage, and
but candid, really, it's like I would say like this is more like describe a time when you overcame a difficulty, right? It seems to be that's the theme that the candidate is talking about, rather than describe a happy childhood memory. Happy childhood memory is something, I don't know, you're sitting down and your mum gives you some candy or something like this, or you're watching some sport and your favorite football player scores a goal or something like this. Something more specific.
we used to go there with my friends, and we
Candidate now has to repeat his ideas. We used to go there with my friends. I think he means I used to go there with my friends, not we. But yeah, candidate has already mentioned this earlier, and we know this is what happens when candidates start going off script. They have to then repeat on previous ideas.
often spend our time swapping some anecdotes, like making some jokes. And
Again, now it's just candidate is trying to just use collocations, telling some anecdotes, swapping some jokes. Okay, it's not completely off topic. I will say that the candidate does have some skill in doing this, but for me it is noticeable that the candidate is off script.
also at that time, I was able to make a lot of friends in those classes, and my teachers were so kind of motivating, so helpful for me, and
Or it could be like talk about a school you used to go to. It doesn't feel like a childhood memory.
they always tried to give me pep talks.
Again, it's noticeable the candidate's just trying to activate this. Candidate's vocab is good, right? They tried to give me pep talks, but yeah, it's just not quite on topic.
To boost my confidence.
Okay,
at that
thank you. You can probably see it, right? Swap anecdotes, boost my confidence, tell jokes or something like this. You can, yeah, you can just see kind of maybe what the candidate is trying a little bit too hard to do. But I will say again, enthusiasm, great, but I just need to stick on topic there. Forget so much about trying to activate all of this language. That stuff should always be secondary to answering the question, right? Think of it like building a house. The most important thing is like the foundation of the house. It doesn't matter how beautiful your house is. If the foundation is weak, then your house will collapse, right? It will fall down. If the foundation is strong, then you can start adding nice decorations to it. I'm not a house builder. I don't know if it's obvious, but the foundation to your answers will always be giving a clear, easy to understand answer which is on topic and relevant to the question. That's the first thing you have to take care of, and then you can think about how you add all of the colorful language. Right now, it seems that you're so focused on the colorful language that you forget about the fundamental, foundational stuff of actually answering the question. Let's get to part 3.
Yeah.
All right, so you've been talking about a happy childhood memory. Let's talk about memories now. What kind of things do people usually remember most about their early childhood?
Early childhood.
I like this, early childhood. He's buying time for himself. Good.
Yeah, I think it is interesting. Maybe the first day that they were at school, it can be so kind of unforgettable experience for them, because
Cool, unforgettable experience.
maybe at that time they can have an opportunity to socialize with other their peers.
They are other peers instead of other they are peers. So I'm only pointing this out just to show that, the grammatical accuracy, the grammatical range is really, really good, but there are still some issues with grammatical accuracy, which is okay.
So and also in a childhood, maybe
Peers is good, people of your own age, cool.
if their parents give them opportunity to participate in this kind of courses, I mean,
Again, just slow down. We want this participate in, right? Just notice, do you hear the word participate in? Do you hear fully that word participate? This is a lexical word, right? We know in English we have lexical words and delexical words or functional words, and the functional words tend to be underpronounced, like articles, prepositions, like I'm going to the shop. To the is shortened. I'm going to the shop. But participate, that's a lexical word, and we don't want to participate. We don't want to swallow that. You tell me how clearly you hear the word participate here.
Can have an opportunity to socialize with other their peers. So and also in a childhood, maybe if their parents give them opportunity to participate in this kind of
It's just too fast. Just relax. Pronounce the word clearly. There is no rush here. You don't need to hurry. The time limit is for the examiner to worry about. It is not for you to worry about. The time limit is there not to hurry you up. Relax and pronounce your words clearly. Of course, the prepositions, articles, things like this, they can be dropped. You can have the weak form of them, but words like socialize and participate, we want those words to be pronounced fully.
Courses, that art classes or sport courses to do and to engage in certain sports.
Again, to engage in certain sports, do we need that engage there, or are you just trying to signal to the examiner like, hey, I know engage in? Again, it is good vocab, but you know, we do have this question of style and appropriateness of vocab. It's not just about how many collocations do you know, how many like verb object natural bits of language do you know. It's also about that skill of using them in context and also not overusing them. You have a lot of really good English in that brain of yours, but you're trying too hard to show too much of it.
That they can't even forget this in their entire life. Yeah.
And do you think people generally remember happy memories or sad memories more?
I think sometimes people usually are used to memorizing their
Again, are used to memorizing. That's not the correct use of used to. Be used to.
bad memories all the time, and that they usually are likely to get stuck in a.
Again, they usually are likely to get stuck. They usually are likely to just pick one of them. They're likely to get stuck, or they usually get stuck, but not they usually are likely to get stuck. So again, you're trying to use too much vocab here.
Their bad memories. That they usually.
I will say I'm going to give you band 7 for vocab, but you have enough vocab for a band 8. I'm sure you have enough vocab for a band 8. If you used it appropriately, I would give you the band 8. The fact that you're trying to do too much actually pulls your score down to a 7. So, you know, there's a difference between what you have in your brain and what you can do performatively.
Overthink a lot. Absolutely, teenagers. That they usually care about what like happened in the past, and instead of.
And again, we're drifting off topic, right? Do people usually remember their good memories or their bad memories? Which one do they usually remember more? You should say which one, you should explain why, you should.
Like paying attention to their future career, right?
Why are we talking about teenagers paying attention to their future career? The question is, do people tend to remember their bad memories or their good memories more? Which ones kind of stick in the brain more?
So yeah, I think, but older people, they think differently. I think they think about they care much about things that
They care much, they care a lot about.
they have nowadays, rather than, you know,
Cool, rather than, I really like it.
caring about what they do not have. Yeah.
Again, it's a strange thing. They care about what they have rather than what they do not have. It's a strange way to end a question, which is, do people tend to remember their happy memories or their sad memories more? And why do we sometimes forget things that have happened to us in the past?
Maybe first of all, the main reason
Again, we get that first of all.
can be like this
Okay, I think we've only had first of all 3 times, so it's okay.
event was not kind of unforgettable enough
And a few times you've had unforgettable.
to like remember them, right? And that maybe, I don't know. I think, in my opinion, actually, if the event
I think, in my opinion, it's like he's not sure which one to use.
is so important, people never forget this.
So important. Really good pronunciation. He's really good at like putting emphasis, putting focus on certain things, using his pronunciation to convey meaning, right? To convey, it's so important, really emphasizing. So with those intensifying adverbs, he's really good. Yeah, nice.
So yeah, I think so.
And again, ends it with, so yeah, I think so. So the ending of his answers, again, are not always natural, and that's the result of rushing the answer, trying to force as much language out, and then kind of getting fatigue, and then go, whew, I think so. Kind of like a sprinter. Let's talk about having a good memory now. What are the advantages of having a really good memory? So I think the candidate kind of misunderstood the question here. Having a good memory, we know English is always horrible, right? Like have a bath could mean that you are the owner of a bath, but have a bath can also mean the action of, sitting in a bath. Now, the same thing with having a good memory. It could be like remembering a positive experience, but also in this context, having a good memory means having the ability to remember things well, to remember information, dates, names, details. That's what we mean by having a good memory. We don't mean good as positive here, we mean good as like efficient.
I think having really good memory is so useful for their overall well-being, and that it can absolutely
So it's useful for overall well-being. Okay, how?
impact on their psychology positively.
Can impact on your psychology positively. How?
It can boost their kind of self-esteem
It can boost your self-esteem. How?
about themselves.
We don't need about themselves because self-esteem has the word self.
And also, whenever they feel down, whenever they get in trouble, they just open their phone page. They just try to find their happy memories.
So this we can see now the candidate has misunderstood the question, but I think it's not, it's kind of a tricky question, and so I would be, as an examiner here, I would be willing to be flexible and say, well, you know what, the wording of the question isn't great, and so if the candidate is off topic, I don't really think necessarily this is the candidate's fault. It might be the question's fault, and so I, as an examiner, would just think, okay, let's just imagine he's talking about the benefits of having positive memories.
To remember them, and after seeing them, they can release some stress.
Again, we get this release stress, and now it's kind of showing that the earlier attempt was formulaic. It just seems to be, that he has a fixed communicative repertoire, which includes the words be crazy about, unforgettable, and that item that he just used, which I've immediately forgotten.
Happy memories, to remember them.
Release stress, that's it.
And after seeing them, they can release some stress in some points. So yeah, I think so.
And are there any downsides to having a really good memory? And I hope now the candidate will realize that, like, oh, maybe I've misunderstood this question, because how could there be downsides to having positive memories, right? But the question is, are there any downsides to having a good memory? Meaning, like, is it always a good thing that we can remember a bunch of details? Or are there any situations in which it could be, not a good thing for us if we remember too much? I think, yeah, the candidate still hasn't quite caught on that he's misunderstood the question.
So if people only care about their good memories in the past, they can lose their motivation to achieve their future goals, right? So
and that's an interesting point. Yeah, if you're too past focused on like how good things were in the past, absolutely. So even though the candidate has misunderstood the question, I'm being charitable here, or trying to be as fair as possible and saying, okay, well, I'll still let him explain his idea. And I think that is a really good, sophisticated answer.
Maybe, yeah, I think it's good to have good memories and to remember them, but we shouldn't get in stuck with them. We
shouldn't get in stuck with them. A bit strange.
We must try to look for certain new memories for us.
Love this use of certain new memories. Really good use of certain as this like focus adjective.
New kind of experiences to fulfill ourselves, to
fulfill ourselves, trying a bit too hard, maybe
gain kind of satisfying feelings.
It's never enough for him, is it, to use like one thing to fulfill yourself or to gain satisfying feelings. He always has to stack Like once he says something one time, he wants to stack it with like a paraphrase and stack it with another synonym. We don't want to do too much of that.
For ourselves. So yeah, I think so.
Great example of when like a candidate is almost too good. And how can technology help us to remember things better?
Technology, yeah, I think it has
Technology, yeah, I think. Nice.
a crucial role in our lives all the time, and that whenever nowadays it's common that whenever people go on a trip.
You love this use of whenever people go. It again, this is the type of stuff that people don't notice, right? That use of the word certain things or whenever people. That's really, yeah, very nice.
When they have kind of special occasions, birthdays or weddings, they just like
In special occasions, birthdays or weddings, a little bit of stacking again.
use their
Stacking means putting one thing on top of the other, by the way.
cameras to take a lot of pictures. I think these pictures can
Be careful with your this and these. A couple of times now we've had this. This for singular, these for plural. This picture, these pictures. This memory, these memories.
stay rent free in their minds all the time.
They stay rent free in their minds. Okay, this is artificially. I love this expression. To stay rent free or to live rent free in someone's mind is more common. It's a very modern expression, but it's nice. It's kind of forced. You can kind of feel it's a little bit artificial, but again, it's great that the candidate knows it.
Right, because nowadays technology is giving us opportunity to do this, right? So it is really important.
Okay, thank you. That is the end of the test.
Oh.
So enthusiastic right to the end, right to the end. So first of all, just I want to repeat some comments. Really fun candidate, right? Quite a young guy. I don't know how old he is. He says he's a freshman in high school. That means nothing to me. I'm from the UK. We don't have high school. We have primary school and we have secondary school, and I don't know what a freshman in high school is. I don't know how old the candidate is. I guess, 15, 16. Really amazing to be that brave, to be that confident, to be that enthusiastic. Really nice. But of course, we don't get points for being enthusiastic. So let's see what we do get points for. Fluency and coherence, I'm giving a 7 for this. So your sequencing of ideas is great. Your use of connectives is great. Your willingness to speak at length is awesome. However, your flow of speech is negatively affected by your rushing, and you sometimes lose coherence when you are too focused on activating language and not focused enough on answering questions directly. Remember that the fundamental part, the most important part, the first thing we have to get right is answering the questions directly and clearly. We can build everything on top of that. So try to be a bit less focused on thinking of how many different expressions you can get out. Lexical resource, I'm giving you a 7 for this. You should have an 8 for lexical resource. In your real test, you really should get an 8 for lexical resource. I think you might even get an 8 for fluency and coherence. If you can answer your questions directly, you can get an 8. If you can tone down your vocab, you can get an 8. So you have I would say even an unbelievably deep or an unbelievably wide range of vocab, and you demonstrate a good awareness. I would even say a great awareness. I'm going to change that. A great awareness of collocation. You know so many in collocations. Be likely to, okay, that's not quite a collocation, to engage in sports, to socialize with people. You know a lot of verb object combos, you know a lot of verb preposition object combos, you know too many of them, but you are trying too hard to use all of them. And that's the point. However, you try too hard to use too much vocabulary, and this negatively affects the appropriacy of your lexical choices. How appropriate is it? We don't, and so it becomes a bit unnatural when you're just trying to stack idea after idea, collocation after collocation after collocation after collocation. Relax, use a couple of them. You don't need to use every single bit of language that you know. And sometimes when you do this, you end up, because you're trying to use so much vocab, you end up repeating certain bits of vocab, like unforgettable. Okay, it's okay to repeat that a couple of times, to be crazy about, but it is noticeable that some of this language is being recycled a little bit. I think you should get 8 for lexical resource in the test. This next one might be controversial, but I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go with 8 for grammatical range and accuracy. You have a fantastic range of complex and simple sentences. Absolutely at band 8 for there. You also use a wide range of structures with a good degree of accuracy. You're not perfect. Certainly, I'm between the 7 and the 8. I'm not between the 8 and the 9. I'm between the 7 and the 8 on this. There are some minor mistakes. Be careful with this versus these. These type of mistakes can, maybe think, an examiner might think, if the candidate doesn't know the difference between this and these, can I really award him an 8? So there may be some small cases like that where an examiner might not want to give you an 8. I still feel like you have enough range and enough accuracy for the 8, just about. These. Also, so versus search. Now, these mistakes, for me, they don't create any misunderstanding at all. None of your grammar mistakes created this confusion in the listener. I think you do have enough for an 8, just about, perhaps, just about for grammatical range and accuracy. Sorry, I don't like the formatting on my board. I'm just going to change it slightly. Let's do that and that. Sorry about this. I should edit. Okay, so just about enough for an 8. Pronunciation, I think you are at band 7 for it. So you have a decent phonological range. But you sometimes struggle with some specific phonemes. Which ones? Well, sometimes you struggle with the s versus the. And I think you can fix this by slowing down a little bit. And also the v versus w, like drawing. I know it's not a w here, and it actually should be silent, but I think you think it's a w, and so you produce the v sound. And there were a couple of other cases too where you were using v instead of the. V instead of w. So those are just two specific phonemes two specific pairs of phonemes that you have trouble with. Your intonation is generally very good, especially with intensifiers. So when you say so or very, you really stress it, like, oh, it's so important. You're really good with that. At times, your rhythm becomes a little mechanical, not sustained, not throughout all of the test, but at times. And again, I think maybe because you're rushing, sometimes then after that you have to think a little bit, and your speaking becomes a little bit staccato. So at times the rhythm becomes a little mechanical. But I do think, with the pronunciation, I don't know if you've seen the band descriptors, but like they're very lazy with this. It's like you have band 6 where they have descriptors, you have band 8 where they have descriptors, and band 7 says basically all of the positive features of band 6 plus some but not all of the positive features of band 8. And I think that is the best explanation for your pronunciation. Could an examiner give you 6? Yes. I think you have enough for a 7. I'm going to give the 7. So the overall score here is 7.25. Overall score is 7.25, which actually reduces, unfortunately, to band 7.0. Now, looking for areas to improve, I don't think you're going to get higher than 7 for pronunciation, but when I first watched this, I thought like, oh, maybe fluency is 6 or 7, so I'm not sure. So I originally thought, is it 6.5? Is it 7.0? Just because I was worried about that coherence, about answering those questions directly. I want to say that you're a very, very strong candidate. You've acquired a lot of English and you should be extremely proud of where you are right now. But the first bit of advice I'm going to give you is nothing special. Be sure to answer questions directly. On top of that, avoid rushing into answers and speaking too quickly. The fact that you're trying to get your language out too quickly, this is negatively affecting the flow of your speech. It's negatively affecting your pronunciation in some cases, especially with the s and the th and the. Yeah, maybe it's also negatively affecting like the rhythm of your pronunciation, how mechanical it is. So really try to slow down. Try to slow down a little bit. And the third point I'm going to say is don't try to show off your vocab too much. We know that you have an amazing range of vocabulary, but appropriacy is an important thing, right? When we learn grammar, when we learn vocab, we think of 3 things. We think of the form of the grammar. We think of the function, the context in which it's used, but we also have to think of that appropriacy. Is this the right context? Is it suitable to use this here? Is it the right register? Is this a normal pattern of communicating? When people ask you, what's your favorite food? Should we list like 20 different types of food and have like 15 adjectives for all of those types of food? No. And so it's not that you have a 7 because you don't know enough vocab. You have a 7 because of your unnatural activation of this vocab. And so, you have to just tone it down a little bit. I expect you, in the real test, I expect you to get 7.5. I don't think you'll get 8 for pronunciation. So in the real test, I think maybe you'll get 8.887, which would give you a score of 7.5. But for me, in this test, it's 7.787, 7.25, rounding down to 7.0. It still puts you at that C1 level. And for a person your age to have C1 level is a great achievement, and you should be very proud. Of course, could an examiner give you 6.5? Yeah. An examiner could, they might look at this lack of coherence. They might give you 6 for fluency and coherence and then 777, and that would give you 6.5. So really making sure that you answer those questions directly, for you, that is absolutely key. Don't go off topic, stay on topic. Forget about rushing, forget about trying to activate a million bits of language. I'm going to stop repeating myself now. But congratulations on an amazing score, and it was nice to have that speaking test with you. Okay, so those are my scores for this candidate. I know the last Uzbek candidate I gave 7.02. Some people said I was too generous. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think I was too generous? Do you think I was too strict? Let me know in the comments section. Also, if you'd like your own free practice speaking test with this level of feedback, and if you'd like me to check your IELTS writing, you can request this in my Telegram channel, Expert Examiner. A link to this channel is given below. But I will leave it there. Have a wonderful evening and see you all soon. Ciao, ciao.